Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as we talk about a Qatar bid stumbling block. Is it suddenly impossible? We'll also be talking about Harry Maguire, a big loss for Manchester United if they let him go in the summer. And not my words, the words of the report we're going to talk about. And also there's been an update on Mason Greenwood that has come in today as well. So lots to get into. It's a busy time. I'm going to be previewing the Barcelona game tonight at 7 o'clock. Can't wait for that to actually talk a bit about football because that's what we are. We're a bloody football club. But hope you're doing well this afternoon. 2 o'clock show is always, I like the 2 o'clock show, and it's never a long show, but it's always to the point, little bit of conversation. So where do you want to start? The Harry Maguire story is basically about the value of Harry Maguire and what we'll get for him in the summer, and apparently that's a blow because we'll lose half of 80 million to sell him for about 40 million. We'll talk about that in a minute, but let's hit the Qatar bid because I know a lot of people are, massively involved in this at the moment, and it's creating a lot of correct conflict and thought in Manchester United fans' head. And when I say conflict, I don't mean a bad conflict. I mean there's conflicting thoughts in your head about the pros and the cons, which is what you should always do. Even if you're thinking about buying a new carpet, pros and cons, expense, how long they can take to fit it, how long it will last, how it matches up with the rest of the room. These are things you have to look at. Joseph, welcome to the Members Club. So, basically, Qatar bid impossible. Somebody messaged, I don't think Pip will mind me shouting him out. Pip messaged me today and said, have you heard what they said on the Manchester is Red podcast yesterday, which is the Manchester Evening News podcast? And I said, no, I haven't, but he sent me the link and I had to listen to it. And basically, they were talking about, and I think it's fair to say, I don't think they'd have a problem with me saying there, it's fair to say that those Manchester Evening News journalists who were talking on their podcast are not pro Qatar owning Man United. And that's fine. There's no criticism from me there. There shouldn't be any criticism from you. There might be disagreements. You might agree. But I'm not surprised by that. I think that there is strong feeling in a certain element. Probably a lot of journalists, to be fair, and certainly some Man United fans who completely do not want this type of ownership of Manchester United. And you can class that type of whatever you want. Middle East, billionaire, similar to Man City, Newcastle. They don't want that type of ownership, and that is their right. However, in the same conversation, one of those journalists mentioned that it would be almost impossible for Manchester United to be purchased by Qatar because of the PSG factor, and that an investment was more likely. Now, one thing I will say is that there is still rumours that the Glazers would like investment. Papa Green, welcome to the Members Club, and Brad as well. If the Premier League have to accept Qatar as owners, can they put a clause in to say that if they own United, they can't join a Super League, says Night Sketch. I'll come on to that next. But so, look, what I would say is that podcast was recorded yesterday. A lot has changed in 24 hours. However, even on Sunday, there was an understanding that UEFA would allow this Saudi Arabia, this Qatar bid, even if there is connections to PSG. So I don't think it's impossible, but you've also got to consider that these journalists, some of them are very well connected around the football club and have good contacts. Nothing would surprise me this week about what could happen with Manchester United. But I personally, from what I've heard, would not describe this bid as impossible. I wouldn't even describe it as a stumbling block. I think UEFA owe Qatar quite a bit, really, because PSG refusing to go into the Super League, because of probably the World Cup, to be fair, was a big ally in that Super League fight. And obviously United weren't, and neither were Arsenal, and neither were Real Madrid, and neither were Juventus, or any other club that wanted to join the Super League. So I think there's an element of understanding between UEFA and Qatar, whether you like that or not, because of that Super League. I don't think UEFA are going to throw barriers up to Qatar buying Manchester United. I just don't think they are. So there's an observation to be made there, and I said it this morning, that if you've got people who own PSG who, we don't own PSG really, we've got a different group to buy Manchester United, I'm not completely comfortable with that because I don't like the fact that Qatar is going to own PSG and Man United. But that doesn't make me against the bid. I'm just not comfortable with that. I don't think this is going to be a stumbling block. And my opinion means no more than John next door. I personally don't think this is impossible. So I don't disagree with what's been put out there, but I don't think it's set in stone that it's impossible. I don't. I think if this Qatar bid to buy Manchester United was not possible, we wouldn't have been talking about it for the last week. It's clearly possible. They're clearly finding a way to do it. And as I said, I was told on Sunday that if UEFA lets this Qatar group buy Manchester United, they will win the race to buy Manchester United. It's that simple. If they can find a way to do it, then they will buy it. It's all about Qatar owning PSG, but doesn't Sajim own Nice? What's the difference? Says Sean Turner. The difference is that basically Qatar is a country that's got links to, well, it's from the same region as Saudi Arabia. It's from the same region as Abu Dhabi. It's from the same region. It's got the same connections to Newcastle, Man City and PSG. They're all individual entities. Qatar owning PSG and Manchester United is very different to Sajim owning Nice and Manchester United in my mind, because it's a completely different type of scenario and it's a completely different type of wealth. Yes, one's a Premier League club and one's a French league club, but it's very, very different. And I would actually agree with Sean there. I personally think if Sir Jim Radcliffe does buy Manchester United, he should bin off Nice as well. There are similarities there. You're right, Sean, but in my mind there's not. But I also agree that I don't really want. I know Man City do it, the MLS. I don't really want to be part of some investment group where lots of clubs owners. But you've made me lose my. Thurno says, and Ainkip says there's no difference. Well, I'm sorry, there might not be any difference in your mind, but there is a difference in my mind, and there will be a difference in other people's minds. So don't be a dictator and start telling people there's no difference, because there is a difference. The people who are going to fund Qatar for PSG are going to fund Manchester United. They're just trying to find a way to make them two very separate. So that's very different to Sir Jim Radcliffe owning Nice and owning Manchester United, because we don't actually know how that's going to work. He might be getting rid of Nice. The rules mean that they can own both clubs, but those clubs can't play in the same European competition. Nice, Nice aren't Champions League, so it's no problem, says Sam Brox. They'll find a way. Bro, look, I'm not going to get into this argument, right? You don't live in my head. I see a very big difference between Sir Jim Radcliffe owning Nice and owning Manchester United than I do between Qatar owning PSG and Manchester United. I see a very, very big difference in that. If you don't, well done. Enjoy your opinion. That's what it's all about. But I do. And you can't tell me there's no difference, because I'm telling you, in my mind, there's a very big difference. What you need to learn here is, I can respect that you don't see there's a difference. I think there's a very big difference. Whether you want to call that sports washing or whatever you want to call it, there's a very big difference. And I see a very big difference. Respect it. Don't have to disagree with it. Don't have to agree with it. But you can't tell me there's no difference, because there is. There's a very big difference in my opinion. But going back to, this is what I mean, it's going to get very, very, very divisive in this fan base. There's going to be a lot of falling out. I don't think people in our fan base appreciate how against some of our fans are going to be if Qatar get hold of Man United. I don't think you understand how against some of these people are going to be. Now, how it plays out, I don't know. But what I can tell you is there are vocal Man United groups, journalists, who will not like this ownership model. Now, they may just be quiet about it and just say, let's see what happens, or they may not. But you are a fool if you think everyone's going to be happy about this. The same way, if Sir Jim Radcliffe gets hold of the club, there'll be fans who are furious that we haven't got Qatar. I don't want to go down that road. I don't think anyone else wants to go down that road. But you can already see the tension. You can already see it in articles being written. I see it in the live chat. People are falling out. And I think the only thing I can say is, you're not wrong to have the opinion you've got. But you cannot and never should be able to dictate to other people your opinion if they've got a different opinion to you. Because that's a very dangerous road to go down. However, before I move on to something different on Mason Greenwood and Harry Maguire, I just want to say my opinion and understanding is that this Qatar bid is not hitting a stumbling block and is not impossible. So to those people who are saying Qatar won't be able to buy Man United because they own PSG, I think they'll find a way through that. To those people saying it will be an investment into the Glazers because they can't own the club outright, I disagree with that. And also, can you imagine if Qatar give investment to the Glazers and the Glazers stay? It would be unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So my feeling at the moment is that unless there's a real shock, I think Qatar are going to put the biggest bid in, and they therefore will own Manchester United, because we're already hearing that Sir Jim Ratcliffe won't offer silly money anyway. So I think that's where we're heading. Good day. Quite surprised Michael Knighton hasn't come out amongst the pigeons. Do you see him saying something soon, or is he sticking to his keepy-ups? I don't know, Tom. I don't know, and maybe he just feels that United won't be under the Glazers anymore, so job done. Carl says, as well as investing in the stadium and not taking dividends and debt, do we all want our owners to play by the rules? Feels to me like we need to keep our integrity no matter how rich our owners are, says Carl. Yeah. I mean, look, you should always be playing by the rules. Somebody quite rightly said this morning, let's hope that whoever's buying us from Qatar isn't anything to do with PSG, because the way PSG have been run is quite bad, whether it's changing of managers, giving superpowers to Kylian Mbappe. They've not won the thing they want to win, which is the Champions League in 10 years. So, PSG actually, what have PSG done? Won a load of French league titles that they probably would have done without spending billions of pounds anyway. So I would like it to be a different ownership model to PSG, to be honest with you. Ken says, could there be a surprise third group that has the wealth of Qatar but not the issues of PSG? Hopefully, Ken. Hopefully, Ken. I mean, Saudi Arabia has been mentioned. The difference is they would be owning the crown jewels of two countries' football clubs wise. That gives them influence, and we know what rhymes with that, says Glenny Boy. Somebody just said, what's sports washing? I said it this morning. So sports washing, the definition of sports washing, and this is what Abu Dhabi, Man City have been accused of. This is what Saudi Arabia, Newcastle have been accused of. And this is something that Man United will get accused of if we get bought by Qatar. Sports washing is defined as undesirable individuals, countries and investors investing in something popular to make them appear more popular and liked. So, I don't know. Imagine if some evil dictator who was a billionaire from some country went and bought Manchester United. They'd still be an evil dictator, but if Man United start doing well and they're the owner, they get the positivity of that and the brand exposure of that. That's what sports washing means. Some people think that's what all this Middle East investment is because of, some of their human rights issues and everything like that. As I've said before, there's a hypocrisy to that, because there'll be hundreds of American and UK companies and governments that take money from the Middle East anyway. So why should a Manchester United or a Newcastle or a Man City be, treated any differently? Mark, what's your take on this? United are bigger than PSG fans-wise. Should Qatar invest more in United, says Tim. Well, a lot of people messaged me after the show this morning. I thought it was a really good show this morning and a really good conversation about that. And a lot of people have messaged me and said, if Qatar get hold of Manchester United, then they will be... Tom Essie, I've just blocked you, mate. I think it's for the best, based on your comment. I think that a lot of people have said that Man United will be the bigger priority. Apparently, they've always wanted Man United. So, you might be worried if you're a PSG fan, because the best league in the world is the Premier League. The bigger club is Manchester United. It could be curtains for PSG if they get hold of Man United. Anyway, look, we'll see what happens with that. But I think we've answered that. That is the Qatar bid now impossible question. How it's no problem for Jim Ratcliffe to buy Man United, even though he owns Nice, but Qatar can't buy Man United because they own PSG, says Subar. I think... I don't actually know the technical reason why that is, but I suppose. Yeah, I suppose you raise a. I can sort of understand it, but I can't really put it into words. So Nice will never play in the Champions League. So, but if they did and Man United were in it, I think it's just been made more of an issue with this one. But you know, it is what it is. Beth wants Qatar. Beth also wants the hair to be sold. So you know, it's why you should have different opinions to people, even if you like them. Red Bull are just the main sponsor of Salzburg, says like Milo. Okay, let's move on. The main story I was going to start off with was Harry Maguire, actually. So Harry Maguire, this was a story that came from the Mail yesterday, that Manchester United will take a big loss on Harry Maguire in the summer to move him on. £40 million max is what they expect to get for Harry Maguire when they spent £80 million on him. I would have mentioned it on the morning show, but we got sidetracked. There's also an update on Mason Greenwood I need to give you. So on Harry Maguire, the story is that Manchester United would have to take a huge loss to move him on in the summer. My instant reaction to this is, so what? Does that mean we shouldn't let him go? Sometimes I don't understand what the problem is. Like, and I don't think people look at it from Maguire's point of view either. I mean, he's a reasonable. I said this last night when I was doing the watch along for the Everton game. I said Harry Maguire in a top 4 club, i.e. Man United, is a 6 out of 10 defender. You put him in an Everton shirt in a back 5 and he's probably a 7 out of 10 defender. But he's never an £80 million defender. That's Man United's problem. The minute they spent £80 million, they may as well have thrown £40 million in the river. Like, you were never, ever getting that money back. Leicester are still laughing now. I sometimes drive down the M1 and as I'm going past Leicester, I just hear this laughing. I have to put the window up and turn the radio up. I just hear laughing. Next time you're driving past Leicester, open your window, turn your radio off. You'll probably just hear laughing because they're still laughing all these years later that they got £80 million for Harry Maguire. We should have paid 50. That's what he was worth. He's now nearly 30, so he's probably worth 40. It's not a big loss. It's what his value is. Harry Maguire is a £40 million centre-back, and we might do well to get that in the summer. So it's not a big loss. We overpaid. This is why we need a new director of football. This is why we need a new CEO. This is why the new owners need to look back through the last 5 to 10 years and write a list of every mistake the board and recruiters have made. And Maguire was a big mistake in relation to price. It's not a big loss. £40 million for Harry Maguire, I think most people would go, yes, please. You can't look at what you bought a player for when you overpaid on a player. So I think if we can get £40 million for Harry in the summer, it'd be a very good deal. I also think the most important thing is that he needs to play regular first-team football. Otherwise, he's going to end his career like Jack Wilshere, just not playing. He's got to play football. And at the moment, he won't be playing for Manchester United. So I don't see it as a big loss. I actually think £40 million might be a bit generous. We might not even get 40. But if we can get £40 million... And remember, Ten Hag has to look at it like, well, I didn't pay £80 million for him. I'm clearing a spot. You're getting 40 million, clearing a wage, let him go. And also, most important of all, I think Harry Maguire's got to be knocking on that door himself. If he's not starting week in, week out, does he really want to be sat on the bench for Manchester United next season as well? It's a logical deal. I don't see a negative. And I think that, you know, when you read, oh, Man United ready to take a big loss on Harry Maguire, it's not a big loss though, is it? It's not a big loss. It's Man United are trying to get 40 million for Harry Maguire. We're not taking a big loss because he was never worth 80 million in the first place. Og says, a while ago, Qatar might have sold, but they said they don't want to. Do you see that as a possibility in the future, especially if Mbappe left? Thank you very much for that. And welcome to the Members Club, Kate. James says, if Maguire does end up being sold, I don't think the loss in what we paid for him will be an issue or even noticeable if we get new owners, says James. No, I think at the end of the day, we already know that to spend money in the summer with the up-and-coming financial fair play rules, we need to sell players anyway, and we need to lower the wage bill. Maguire would be a good player to move on. His wage is reasonable at 200 grand a week. I mean, that would be the issue. Can you find a club that is willing to give us 40 million and pay Harry Maguire 200 grand a week? I mean, these are the mistakes of the past that might be difficult. I don't necessarily think it's easy to sell Maguire. I don't think it's easy at all. I don't think it's a Rojo problem or a Phil Jones problem. But tell me a club that's going to give him 200 grand a week and give us 40 million, and I'll call you a liar. I don't think there's a club out there that's going to do it, because 200 grand a week pretty much makes you the top earner at everybody outside the top four. So might be a problem there. You wouldn't consider signing Harry Maguire for the United stand, would you, says Lil? Nope. Hi Mark, I'm showing my age, but would new owners bring back the FC on the club crest after losing in 1998 Football Club before Brand, says Kevin. And 40 million is a good price for a bench player. That's the reality for Maguire, says Chris. Yeah, well look, we'll have to wait and see, but I don't think it's as clear. I think Newcastle would be a very good club for Harry Maguire. I think West Ham would be good. I think Everton would be good, but have they got 200 grand a week to give him? I don't know. But it's a big wage bill, and I still think he's got 3 years left on his deal. So I don't think it's set in stone that anybody's leaving either. I mean, look, he played against Leeds at the weekend. I know a lot of people don't think he played that well, but Jack says that as per Le Parisien just now, in Qatar, nobody's interested in League One. So if they bought Man United, the PSG could no longer be the priority because Man United would require a colossal investment. I think going back to the whole PSG, Man United, Qatar bid, if I was Qatar and I owned PSG and Man United came up for sale, I'd be doing exactly what they're doing. I'd be trying to get hold of Man United, because PSG as a project just hasn't worked. They've not won the Champions League. They reside in one of the most boring European leagues there are. It's boring. It's a boring league because PSG are just too wealthy and too good. And they never won the Champions League. So Man United are a bigger club than PSG, and we're in the best league in the world. If you want to be in football, you want to own Man United. So I don't know what the future would be for PSG if Man United got hold of them. Maybe they could be our feeder club. But I mean, that's a joke. Glennie says, if the Glazers stayed, chances are Harry would not be allowed to leave because he's an asset. Hopefully those days may be over soon. Thank you very much, Glennie. And Barry, welcome to the Members Club. I do hope that there is another bid coming in, simply for variety. I'd be very one thing I don't think anybody has said. I'd be very disappointed if the only two serious candidates to buy Manchester United Football Club was Qatar and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. There has to be. I was told a month ago that there were 6 serious bidders. Now we know 2 of them, but I was told there were 6. Where are the other 4? Why are they being quiet? Why are they being quiet? Why don't they want to be in the race? I hope that they still exist, because variety is the key here. Ultimately, though, the sad thing about this is that none of these bids are being assessed on what's best for Manchester United. They're all being assessed on what's best for the Glazers' pocket. So remember that. Sir Jim Ratcliffe might be the best owner for Man United, but he might not get it because he won't spend as much as Qatar or somebody else. I find the United stand more informative and entertaining than MUTV. Thank you for enlightening us about the possible new owners, says Devendran. Thank you very much for your super chat there. And the other bit of news I wanted to give you was that Mason Greenwood, I can't remember where this was reported today, but basically Mason Greenwood will not be playing for Manchester United this season, as United expect the investigation into what they're going to do with Mason Greenwood next to run into the summer. So there will be no appearances from Mason Greenwood this season, and Man United will obviously continue their investigation. There's 2 ways of looking at that. Welcome to the Members Club, Milo. There's 2 ways of looking at that. 1, it's very logical and it makes total sense. 2, they're brushing it under the carpet till the summer, and then we'll try and reintroduce him, hoping that everything's died down a bit and you can do a bit of positive publicity about him seeking therapy and still being with the girl, and who knows what the future is. It's another big dive. I mean, you could almost change the name to Manchester the Divided, couldn't you, instead of Manchester United? Because for the last 18 months, it feels like everything we do is a divide, splits the fan base. Like whether it's Ronaldo Mason Greenwood, who's going to be our new owner. It's just constantly big, serious topics. But look, that won't be resolved for a while, so I suppose you can put it on the back burner. I didn't watch a single game of the World Cup as I couldn't support it being in Qatar. I'm so morally convicted about Qatari owners, says Jake. I hated the World Cup being in Qatar as well, mainly because it was a winter World Cup in the middle of the season, knackering players. Hi Mark, do you think if Qatar bought the club, they would be able to rein in since Manchester City has been exposed? That's why I was worried, says Joshua. Just because you're owned by billionaires doesn't mean that you cheat, like Man City have been accused of doing. Man City are being accused of doing what they've done. Anybody could have done that. It's about inflating your sponsors, isn't it? You know, anyone could do that. Anyone could do that to buy that. What do you think about Elon Musk as an owner of Manchester United? I don't believe he's in for Manchester United. You know, if Elon was in the live chat now or on the show now, I'd say it's straight. I don't believe you're in for Man United at all. I think it's all a game. I think it's just a bit of publicity, you know, which brings you exposure for the brands that you do care about, like Tesla and Twitter. I don't think he's in for Man United. Don't think he's in for Man United at all. If he was in for Man United, let's discuss it. But I just think it's publicity. The same as it was for Apple and the same as it was for Amazon. I think it's just a clever vehicle to get a bit of exposure. I don't think he's in for Man United. If he was in for Man United, I think it'd be very interesting. I remember saying this about Amazon. Like, people were like, I don't want Amazon to own Man United. And I was like, I don't care if Amazon own Man United. If Amazon bought Man United, what I would do, if Amazon bought Manchester United, I would go and recruit specialists. And that's what businesses probably would do. I'd employ specialists and I'd house them within Amazon and I'd call it the Man United department. And basically, you would employ people who know football to be the people in the business who oversee Man United. And then at Man United, you then employ specialists there. So it could easily work. I don't mean like go and get the best CEO and the best director of football. I mean get the best CEO and the best director of football, but employ somebody at Amazon who knows about football, who represents Amazon. That's what I would do. So it could be done. It's just whether anybody would want to do that. I think it will happen at some point. We'll probably miss the boat this time. Maybe it'll happen for Arsenal. Maybe it'll happen for Real Madrid. But I do think you will see a football club owned by a Spotify or an Amazon or an Apple. And I think it can work. I think it could work. And I think it would be a very good brand move. But I don't think it's going to happen for us. Club says, I will enjoy us winning again. I'll love it. But it won't feel like it did under Sir Alex if we do it under the Qatar ownership. It will feel like cheating, says Club. And would Sir Jim not have the same issue owning Nice that a Qatar bid would have? Not talked about as they're not a competitor for signing trophies and trophies, says Rory. Yeah, I think it's just that I just think PSG are more high profile, aren't they? PSG are one of the biggest clubs in the world. I mean, I'm going to be doing a watch along for them against Bayern tonight. Nice are not. I think it just comes down to the reason it gets spoken about more is because of that. I still think Sir Jim would be bound by rules that he'd have to, adhere to. But maybe he wouldn't run Nice anymore if he got hold of Manchester United. Yeah, Barca have Spotify as a sponsor, but they don't own them, do they? Interesting times, but I think we've just got to, see what happens and hope, really. So much is about hope, isn't it? But the one thing I do get asked a lot is, what do you want? And the hardest question I get asked is, and I'm sure you get asked it all the time because we're all the same. What would you prefer, Sir Jim or Qatar? And fair play to those people who do take a choice. I find it impossible to make a choice because I don't know. I don't know what's better. I don't know what's behind it. And I think I'm sort of in that, position now where I know that I've got no say. I know that I don't know what they want to do, and therefore I just want to get on with it. I just want to know who the new owner is, and then we'll assess it. The future ownership of assets is through corporations and sovereign funds. Individual ownership as a model is on the way out, says Div. Yeah, because you're dealing with you're absolutely spot on. The wealth it takes to buy a football club now. It wouldn't matter if Glennie Boy or me, we could become the new Lennon and McCartney. Everything we write could be a number one. We could absolutely coin it in, and we still wouldn't be able to buy Man United. You can't buy Man United with $1 billion. And $1 billion, to have personal wealth of $1 billion, you're in a very, very small minority. You need super wealth now to buy football clubs. Any chance of getting Van der Sar out of Ajax, says Glennie. I'd like to get him out of Ajax. I think he'd be a very good CEO, knows the club and has proven himself at Ajax, but there you go. Would you want Mbappe at Man United? Well, if PSG became our feeder club, it might happen, but, I don't know. I've spoken about Musk. It's not cheating if everyone else is doing it, says Knight. Well, that's the logic of a cheat. Let's be honest. It's still cheating. But I don't know what are people talking about cheating anyway. I don't think it's cheating to have a rich owner. It might be having a cheat code, but James Robson's just put a tweet out saying that from the moment the Glazers made clear their willingness to sell United, insiders felt a sovereign wealth fund was the likeliest buyer. It's very logical, isn't it? Very logical observation that Man City are owned by one, in a way. Newcastle are owned by one, in a way. PSG are owned by one, in a way. I think it's very logical. Og says, Sir Jim doesn't have the wealth of Qatar, and that's ultimately what we need to get back to the top. We want to be the best on and off the pitch, says Og. United stand buying United along with Gary Neville consortium. Yeah, it'd be nice, sus. Dan Reel, welcome to the members club as well. Well, look, we're in the destiny of who gets hold of our club. Wealth won't be enough. I said this morning. Wealth is not enough. Wealth is not enough without good decisions. We could get really rich new owners, and they could they could get a complete prat involved. There's one or two on the telly I could think of that they might go to. Oh, he's got a big social media following. It's difficult as Sir Jim Ratcliffe looks like he will be borrowing to buy the club, which we hate. On the flip side, people have an issue with Qatar when it comes to us, says Told Ya. Yeah, be interesting certainly indeed. I've had another tweet here. This is what I mean. You almost, at the moment, it's very hard to know when to stop because there's always something coming in. Have a quick look. Well, I'm back at 7 o'clock anyway. So, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. I'm on Twitch in about 15 minutes anyway with my Man United career mode, so you can join me on there. And don't forget, 7 o'clock show tonight. We're previewing the Barcelona game at 7 o'clock tonight. We're in Barcelona tomorrow. We've got Adam's out there, so we'll be at the press conference and everything. So thanks everyone. Take care. Can I just say at the end of the show, I keep forgetting to say this. I put it in the live chat and it's in the video description. I want to see as many of you there as possible. I was at the end of the London show for Ben Foster's Fozcast. If you've not seen my Instagram, by the way, my slip is there with all the audio. Give it a check on my story on Instagram at GoldbridgeMark. It will give you a laugh this afternoon if you've not seen it. But after the show on Friday night, loads of people were saying, I had a lovely gentleman who shook me by the hand and said, keep doing what you're doing. I love what you're doing. Ignore all the haters. Really meant a lot. Was giving photos and having chats with people. So we've got our own live shows coming up. Dublin's sold out, but Manchester and London, March international break. It'd be great to see you, meet you, have some pictures and a bit of a chat before and after the shows. And obviously we've got a great night on stage for you as well. So if you want to get your tickets, Manchester and London, March, end of March, international break, not like anything else to do. Be great to see you. And the atmosphere will be brilliant because you'll be surrounded by loads of United standers, community. We'll have a great night. So get your tickets while you can. Be great to see you. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you at 7 o'clock tonight, and I'll be on Twitch in about 15 minutes.